Thank you very much. I'm going to talk about logistics, so it's not as exciting as the previous speakers. It's probably one of the most boring subjects, but I've been doing it for 22 years, so it's kept me going. Buffaload Logistics, we're a national player. We started our business 5 years ago down in Cambridgeshire. The owner of the business is a potato farmer by trade. He can just about read and write. He'll tell you that himself, but he's a multi-millionaire. And it's how he got to that level, and it's basically just doing what the customer wants, and that's where we are as a business. We specialise in double-deck trailers. These are niche market and where we work. We have, as I say, the farm where the business started. Sorry, go down one more. Sorry. The farm where the business started is where the business took off from. Since then, 5 years later, we've got 5 warehouses. Ellington is our head office, 15,000 square feet. Just opened a new site at Crewe, Ely, Skelmersdale we've just moved to, moved 18 months ago, which I'll come on to. We've got a site in Livingston and a site in Avonmouth. Now, over 5 years, that's pretty fast growth. We've got 100 tractor units, so lorries, and we've got 201 moving floor double-deckers. Now, what we did 5 years ago was we do a lot of work for the co-op, and as with most retailers, present company accepted they wanted a rate reduction. We wanted more money, and it was how did we get to cover that little gap. There's a famous shortage of drivers in the industry. The quality of drivers coming over wasn't particularly good. So what we did, we started investing in double-deck trailers. Now, these are the larger trailers, and inside them there is a hydraulic floor which lifts. So you load the pallets on, press the button, the floor lifts up, and then you load more pallets on underneath. Now, what that's done is taken a lot of lorries off the road. A lot of drivers not required, but it's allowed us to pay our drivers more. It's allowed to pay our drivers more. You attract more drivers, then you don't have the shortage of drivers. And we've got 201 because we started with 1 or 2. And Sod's law was that they'd all be in the wrong part of the country. So you'd want one down in England and it'd be in Scotland. You'd want one in Wales and it'd be over in Norfolk. So we had to go and invest. And we invested big style, to be honest. We bought 100 brand new ones, and we also bought as many second-hand trailers as we could get our hands on. And the reason for that was, one, it's a niche market. They are specialist kit. They're very expensive. A brand new trailer is £100,000 each. But it allows us to use these double-deckers whilst not allowing our competitors to have the double-deckers. And what we also did was we would then rent out the trailers that we didn't want or that weren't required within our business. We would rent those out to people that weren't competitors. And that really enabled the business to take off from there and develop. So the turnover figures, we started off with 10 million. The estimate for 2016 is 25 million. That's because the accounts have just finished. But the target for this year is 43 million. And that's a lot of that looks a big growth between 16 and 17. That's mainly because we've just purchased a business down in Crewe called Davis Haulage. So we purchased that. They went into administration on the 23rd of December. And we bought them on the 23rd of December, which, if ever you want to buy a logistics business, don't buy it on the 23rd of December because it ruins your Christmas. So why do we go into these locations? Transport links, that is the key to it, of our business. And why Skelmersdale? Well, before we were in Skelmersdale, we were in the Martland Mill Industrial Estate in Wigan. I don't know whether you know that. It's not a million miles away, but logistically, from our point of view, it could be a different country because Wigan is very busy. The road network isn't the best for logistics, to be honest. There's always queues to get in and out of there. And we could take, some days, it was an hour to get 4 or 5 miles from where we were to the motorway. And it just puts time on and time in place. So we moved to Skelmersdale. A couple of reasons. One, we wanted a bigger premises and we couldn't get one in Wigan. We were looking for an area that we could expand and build for the future and it'd be future-proof, and somewhere where we could get that little bit of benefit. And Skelmersdale fitted the bill. The difference between Skelmersdale and certainly the council, we were welcome to come to Skelmersdale, which was, believe me, when you've got a place down in Cambridgeshire and Huntingdon, getting welcomed by the council it's a novelty, put it that way, because we were bringing jobs The site down in Cambridgeshire, they didn't want us to build. They didn't want us to bring jobs in because lorries are dirty, and that's what they are. You know, they pump out diesel, and they've got a lovely little village that no one worked in because no one had any jobs, but they weren't welcome to us. The difference with Skelmersdale, one of the first things happened was we were welcomed, and that makes a huge difference as a business. And then you go into the transport links, the infrastructure for the roads. There's lots of dual carriageways. Our vehicles can get onto the motorway very quickly, and we can get out and about in the place. And how we set our network up. So Skelmersdale is our gateway to Scotland. So the business is all about the drivers and getting the drivers to maximise their shifts. There's no good getting a driver in for a few hours to do work, and then you have to pay them 8 or 10 hours driving. We have to maximise the shifts of our drivers to get maximum use. So we can get from Skelmersdale, we can hit the central belt of Scotland and get back within the drivers' legal hours. We can get from Skelmersdale down to Ellington, which is a site in Cambridge, and back again in a full shift. And that enables us to maximise the benefit of those double-deckers and to get them working. And the reason we bought Crew, from the previous slide, it's a big picking warehouse. It had sitting tenants, so that's why it made a difference. And people have said, oh, Skelmersdale and Crew, they're quite close. Well, the difference is there's the M56 and M62 where you can spend hours sat on the M6. So again, Crew can head south, and then Skelmersdale we can hit the northeast. So it allows us to move vehicles and move product around and maximise the benefit for all concerned. And that really has helped us enormously over the last 18 months since we moved here. The staff that we look for, so we have warehouse staff, we have office staff, customer service administrators, we have drivers. The pool in Skelmersdale is a lot better than where we were before, and allows us to get people in and work. And that's what we want to do. We want to build the site. We spent £1 million on it. It's the old, for those who don't know, it's an old turtle wax distribution centre in Skelmersdale. When we walked in, it looked like Turtle Wax had just walked out, to be honest. We still had all the polishes and chemicals and everything still in situ, which cost us £1 million to get rid of everything and rejig the warehouse, put chiller equipment in there. So there's an investment there that we're now looking to expand on over the next 5, 10, 15 years, however long it takes. It's future-proofed that we do have a sizable warehouse with capacity, and one of the challenges for myself as business development director is how we fill that capacity. We do a lot of work for the co-op, and we're doing a lot of work for Morrison's, and now we're just working with Asda and Aldi. But we do have capacity during the day when the warehouse is free, because everybody at the moment seems to want to have their deliveries all at the same time. So they order it late, with the retailers tend to order it late and want it delivered early, obviously apart from Booths, who are very good. So that was the reason we moved into Skelmersdale, was to really manage that side of the business. The business as it is, as I said, it's owner-led. He was my customer. I used to work for Eddie Stobart's a few years ago, and Ross was my customer, and then we got together and decided to start to try and build the business. He's very much of a, should we do something? Yeah, let's get and do it. Let's go and do it. Let's go and do it. Sometimes you have to drag that back a little bit and say, no, we need to think about these things. But he's very entrepreneurial. He will do absolutely anything. Another part of his business, just an example, is brand. It's probably don't know it so much over this side of the country, but Corker's Crisps. Just an example of how the business works. He was selling potatoes to one of the retailers because his family are potato farmers. The retailer didn't want to pay the price for the potatoes. They wanted to pay a lot cheaper. And he said, you know what, I'm not going to sell you my potatoes. So then he's left with acres and acres of potatoes. What does he do with it? He then looks on the internet, as he does, eBay or a site like that, and he saw there was a crisp factory for sale in Cyprus. So what did he do? He then got his engineers, they went over to Cyprus, bought the crisp factory. I think he paid £800,000 for this crisp factory, sent the money, got on the plane, over there, boxed it all up in a box and sent it back over to this country, and then started selling crisps or cooking his own crisps. And that's the kind of diversity we have of the business, and that's the kind of challenges as a business development director you have to you have to look at and try and catch the balls and see which ones need catching and which ones don't. So he's very entrepreneurial. The flat management structure we've got to support the business is we have an investor that owns 49% of the business. a very, very quiet investor, and we don't hear anything of it. The rest of us are just people that get on and do the job. And talking about, similar to your business, it's all about, if you want to do something, go and do it. Don't have to do a paper and then it goes to a board, then 6 months later it goes to another board, then 6 months later it goes to another board, and then you haven't done a comma, so you have to go back and be rewritten and stuff like that. It is very much of a, yes, let's do the job and let's get on with it. And this is where what happened with the warehouse in Skelmersdale. It came up very quickly, and he sent the same team that went over to Chris to build the Chris factory, then came up to Skelmersdale to put chiller units and everything in like that. And that's where we are. So we've got 50 years of combined distribution experience, not quite as 170 years, but we're getting there. And where we are, what we want to be is a small company that's diverse. So a bit like a speedboat compared to an oil tanker, because some of the people that we're against are big oil tankers. They're big businesses. We're looking at £43 million next year, and we think, that's a lot. Then you see some of the others, £500 million, turnover, $1 billion turnover. We are really just those nippy people, and we try and get into the gaps that everybody else leaves. The co-op, just going on to the co-op side of the business, which is where we built it up. As I say, co-op wanted to pay less money for distribution. We wanted more money for distribution, and with the double deckers, it gave a significant spend saving on their primary distribution. It reduced vehicle movements within the co-op depots by 40%. It reduced headcount and resource, which as we're looking to develop jobs can sound a wrong thing to do, but it allowed us to reallocate people into the right place. And we now do 70% of the distribution into the co-op. And how did we do it? The best thing about double deckers is people don't like them. The change and trying to sell people these double deckers, not so much the retailers but the manufacturers, and they say these double deckers they don't go on our bay. So what did the owner do? He got in the lorry, drove it to the site, put it on a bay, and went, there you go, it does go on a bay. For people that we couldn't get these double deckers on a bay, the same engineers that went over to Cyprus and went to Skelmersdale, they also convert the loading docks. So we offer a full range of service to everybody to do this work, and it just helps the belief that the owner is there driving the lorries, putting the lorry on the bay. And we had some strange arguments people used to say to us. You know what? The two strangest ones I was told, as I say, the floor lifts up and then you load underneath. The one was, it feels unnatural, which when you're standing there talking to a customer and he says, yeah, it feels unnatural, you don't like to really know what he gets up to that he does feel natural. That's one thing. And the other one was, because it's 1.8 metres underneath, and the other one was he was standing there and he was about, I don't know, 5'8", 5'9", or something like that. He said, if I jump up and down, I hit my head on the roof. It's like, well, how many people in the loading lorry are actually going to stand there and jump up and down? And those are the kind of arguments that were thrown to us. But when people get them, they love them, and that's where we are. But in the days of carbon footprint and saving miles and everything, double deckers work, and it's allowed us that niche in the market to really develop our brand, because it's difficult, as I'm sure you all know, getting a brand into an already congested business. You've got to do something different, and double deckers were the way that we saw it, and understanding what the customer wanted. So it's worked for Co-op, it's worked for Morrison's, it's worked for, we're now doing double deckers into Asda. Aldi are the last ones that really don't want double deckers at the moment, but again, with their growth plans, they recognise that double deckers will be the future. So there is a challenge there, but it is working. How do we differ? As I say, double deck specialists cornering the market. The beauty of the rental fleet that we've got is, instead of having, at times of peak, instead of having to go out and rent trailers for a lot of money, we have this big fleet, and then at times when we're quiet, we rent that out to other people. So we can drag that in for Christmas. We just Valentine's Day, we do a lot of Valentine's Day flowers and stuff like that, and we pull our resource back in, and then when we don't need it, we send it out. The key to our business is we believe that one size does not fit all. When we're talking to customers, we're talking to them about what they require. There's a lot of people, I believe, in our industry that that's a service offering. You can either come or go. It's up to you. What we say, we try and fit around what everybody else wants, because there's flexibility is the key to it. I say quick decisions and customer focus. the managing director, the CEO, myself and the other directors, we don't sit in an ivory tower. We are involved in the day-to-day challenges. We just started a new contract last night coming out of Devon, and the beauty of it was that it's a big contract for us into Asda, and then someone decides to shut the M5 and the M6 and delay our vehicle by 7 hours, which I must thank the Highways Agency for doing that on the first night of a large contract. Future plans, significant investment in place. We've got a new transport management system that is now live. And the sites identified to develop the network are now in place. So we'll say Skelmersdale for us is a big growth area. We have capacity in there, we have capacity in the warehouse, we have capacity in the yard. So for those who don't know, you have to have an operator's license to operate out of a certain site, and you have to have a certain amount of vehicles allocated in there. We have a big yard, we have a big fleet, we can expand, and we're hoping to move a customer who I can't name, their dispatch that's currently in Wigan. We're looking to move those to Skelmersdale in the next month or two, which will be good, and it will generate more jobs within the Skelmersdale area. New sites identified, Derby and Yorkshire. No offence, but there's not a lot going on in Yorkshire for us at the moment, so it might not happen. And we have a site in Scotland, but there is a possibility of building a bigger site in Scotland. It is really a decision, because we can hit a lot of things get produced in England that go to Scotland, and through Skelmersdale we can hit Scotland and we can get back again. There's not a lot goes on for us in Scotland coming down. That's it. I was a shorter one, so hopefully I got you back on time.